Russia's answer to bridge the gap in a highly connected but fractured world. Connectivity through barriers in geography and policy. From St. Petersburg, World Insight with Jian Wei ponders the answers. Balanced views, straightforward interviews, go beyond the headlines.
Hello and welcome to a special program of World Insight coming to you from the city of St. Petersburg in Russia. I'm Jian Wei. I'm standing here near the Neva River in the city of St. Petersburg. The city's namesake, Tsar Peter the Great, founded the city 315 years ago. Over the years, it has also become a commercial and industrial city. It has also got its name in recent years through the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. It is part of Russia's aspiration to put itself back onto the map, discussing the status of the world economy. Some argue that Russia urgently needs this in recent years because it has been hit on two fronts: dropping oil prices and Western sanctions. But what exactly is the status of the Russia economy? Has itself managed to reconnect itself with the rest of the world? That's what we are going to find out in this special episode of World Insight. So first, let's go on to a fact-finding trip into the local market with a local. I am standing here in front of the Sofia Fresh Produce Market. This is the largest market providing fresh vegetables and fruits every day to the greater area of St. Petersburg. As you can see, hundreds of trucks from the southern part of Russia and also from neighboring countries like Azerbaijan, Belarus that are coming here every day. This is the best place, I would say, to see how the Russian economy is doing. And therefore, I come over here and check out with someone who has been living in St. Petersburg for 20 years. She will help us know better about how things are, particularly with the economy. 邢姐，哎呦，你好，在这儿见着您了，我得跟着您转转。
您看我们在这儿买菜呢。
Some cucumber, some melon, some Chinese cabbage. That's what you want to have. 这几样。啊，咱们这价格现在怎么样？
现在因为它比咱们中国的那个季节晚，所以现在有点相当于中国那春天的那季节刚开始，菜还有点贵，
有点贵。
但是跟往年比，价格还可以。这个стоит的。Хорошо, дайте мне 30 рублей, да? Ага. Дайте мне 2 ящика. 2 ящика.
这大白菜不错呀。
它大白菜挺好的。Это производитель азербайджанский или где делали?
你一来了，他们都来了啊。
是的，是的，是的。
These are your friends 啊，大家好。
你好。
Hello。
他说的中国您好啊，
中国你好。对对对。然后您就跟我看一看。I spent almost the whole morning with Miss Xing in the wholesale market until all the items on her shopping list were being taken care of. After lots of hard work, finally we were heading toward her restaurant with a truck loaded with the freshest produce. And this is what she does almost every morning. When we arrived at her restaurant, it was already the lunch hour. But Miss Xing still kindly sat down with me and talked about how her business has been doing over the years. The ups and downs of the restaurant business apparently reflects vividly the realities of the Russian economy. It looks great, this Chinese restaurant, in the middle of St. Petersburg.
这几年经济形势不是特别好，俄罗斯这儿，所以这个生意没有前些年好做了。所以
前些年您说的是？大
概5、6年前吧。那个时候最好的是有23家。我们现在只剩了8家了，
所以你要去 wholesale market，
对
，to get vegetables and fruits at a lower price，
就是因为要降低成本。
It has something to do with the realities of the Russian economy, you feel？
有关系，有关系。其实最困难的是2年前， 但是从去年的下半年，它的经济开始逐渐的复苏了。制裁以后，它可能就中国话叫自力更生了吧？它自己实际上特别这2年重视自己的这些个农业呀，还有这些个加工业呀。
It seems that also the Chinese businesses in Russia have been evolving over the years.
当时的这个在这儿俄罗斯做生意的人，可能80%、90%都是做贸易，都是做这一行。
Things have changed.
啊，对对对，现在它就有点百花齐放了，有什么意大利餐呐、什么这个日本料理啊，中餐很多呀。然后它现在什么德国呀、法国的各种各样的各式的酒吧、各式的咖啡馆，各种风格的就多了。
Russia's answer to bridge the gap in a highly connected but fractured world. Connectivity through barriers in geography and policy. From St. Petersburg, World Insight with Tianwei ponders the answers. Balanced views, straightforward interviews, go beyond the headlines.
The city of St. Petersburg has been well known throughout history as a trade gateway for Russia. And of course today, connectivity is the key word for any economy to thrive. And it seems Russia knows this very well. The Eurasian Economic Corridor is one of those examples. Russia is linking itself with the rest of the region. And it wants to involve China every step of the way as an important partner. On those points, I asked Li Baodong, the Secretary General of the Boao Forum for Asia, on all of these issues. Let's listen in. Mr. Secretary General, what a pleasure to have you here in St. Petersburg.
Good to be here.
It's great to see you again after Boao, and now we are in St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. So I want to begin by asking you, Mr. Secretary General, some of the profound questions. People have been asking questions about whether we want to have more open world or closed world, whether we want to have win-win situation or a zero-sum game, whether we want to have innovation or old mentality. As someone seasoned diplomat and now Secretary General of Boao Forum for Asia, what do you think?
The mankind is a community of shared future, and all countries should get rid of zero-sum game mentality and should embrace innovation, cooperation to work together to find the growth, new growth drivers. And I think it's really important for the countries to be together and to come up with new ideas to make sure that globalization is more open, inclusive, and also balanced, and also make sure that its benefits are shared by all. You know, Boao Forum for Asia is a China-based high-profile international forum. And at this annual conference, we had a great discussion under the theme of open Asia, open, innovative Asia for a world of greater prosperity. And also we were very, very honored that President Xi Jinping came over. And also he addressed the opening ceremony. And he made a marvelous, very impressive statement. And he just confirmed the Chinese government's commitment to open economy. For many years, we have seen multilateralism is challenged. And there are many opinions, many comments, even books on that. In my view, the key question is the functioning of a global mechanism is not adapted to the changing reality of globalization, and even left far behind. Yes. On economic front, with the end of the Cold War, globalization has entered into its new era. And its complexity and also uncertainties, consequences have been underestimated or ignored, intentionally or unintentionally. And it's a very complicated question. Development model cannot be imposed by saber. Good governance cannot be transplanted by outsiders.
Right. If you look at China and Russia, Mr. Secretary General, there are a lot of things happening. Right now we have St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. The Vice President of China, Mr. Wang Qishan, is here to attend. Later, likely President Putin coming from Russia going to visit China on a state visit. And then later there will be a CO summit being held in Qingdao in China. So you see a lot of interactions between the two sides. People wonder though, Mr. Secretary General, what exactly is the nature of this bilateral relations now, Russia and China, particularly current stage?
Well, China and Russia, they are very close neighbors. And also they're major emerging market economies in the world. They make, I think, their own contributions to the world growth. And also, in their own ways, they promote the peace, stability, and also the development with their bilateral ties with other countries in the world. There are many ways that both countries can work together to make contributions to peace, stability. Both countries, they are the permanent members of the Security Council. So they worked very hard to safeguard the role and authority of the UN, and also to uphold the UN Charter.
Are you talking about Syria? Are you talking about DPRK? Are you talking about what exactly are you referring to?
On these, hotspot issues, both countries work very closely with each other, and to give solutions, to make contribution to the solutions of regional and international hotspot issues. As the issues you mentioned, Syria and also DPRK nuclear issue.
You serve in the UN as the ambassador to the UN for quite some time. What is your working relationship with the Russian ambassador to the UN? How is that consultation going on between the two of you?
We have very close consultation with our Russian colleagues and also with other countries, members of Security Council. And so there's regular consultations, and UN is a very, very special forum.
Yes.
And it's not just a talk shop. So sometimes you have to come up with some idea to maybe to develop a Security Council resolution. So there must be very close consultations among all the members of the Security Council. But it's extremely important that China and Russia, be together. And we look at the things from different perspectives, but with one goal, that is to provide a good solution to address the international issues, to promote peace, stability in the world. And China and Russia also are major players, and also the members of G20, BRICS, and also APEC. And strongly, vigorously, both countries advocate the free trade, open economy, and believe in that multilateral trading system. So we believe that both countries, by working together, we can make contribution to world peace, stability, and common development.
Russia has this Eurasian economic community. China originally proposed the idea of Belt and Road Initiative. It is supposed to be a global connectivity. So what about the link between the two? And some say there are some difficulties implementing the idea into real projects on the ground. What is your thought, Mr. Secretary General?
Well, let's talk about the challenges.
Okay.
And what may the challenges be? In my view, the growing protectionism and unilateralism, they are endangering the world economic recovery and undermining multilateral trading system with WTO at its core, impose a threat, to the world, to the countries in the world. So I think China, Russia, as a major economies in the world, should work together.
I see.
To safeguard the multilateral trading regime, and also uphold the open economy and fight protectionism.
You think they're going to do it? I mean, Mr. Secretary General, as I said earlier, state visit by Russian president to China likely, and then SCO summit, Chinese president going to interact with the Russian president, of course, during that occasion. Are they likely to focus on what you have just talked about, to be able to safeguard multilateralism as China and Russia work together, Mr. Secretary General?
Yes, I think this always, on the agenda of the meetings between the two leaders, between President Putin and also President Xi Jinping, because both countries, have a worldwide vision.
Yes.
And every country, small or big in the world, has a role to play on the international stage. And major countries should take responsibility, make more contribution to the peace, stability, security, development in the world. China, Russia, the two countries are on that track. So I'm very confident in the relationship between the two countries. I think this relationship, can benefit the peace, stability, and also the development in the world.
Yeah, before we go, two more questions. One is about Russia is going to host the World Cup. And you see a lot of efforts made by Russia over the past few years, despite sanctions, trying to put itself back onto the map. How much will these efforts, from your perspective, Mr. Secretary General, be able to help Russia to be more functioning on multilateral platforms?
Well, World Cup I think, has already catch the eyes of the world.
Are you a soccer fan?
Yes. So to my knowledge, everything goes very smoothly so far as the preparation for the World Cup, by Russia. And they have the blessing. I wish all the best for the people in Russia to have a very successful game.
Not only blessing, but I guess you will be one of the viewers.
Next match will be not only big match for Russia, I think for the whole world. So everybody in the world should support Russia to have a successful game.
Now, Mr. Secretary General, as you may know, China is in full gear preparing for the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Qingdao early June. I mean, now I understand you're working as the Secretary General of the Global Forum for Asia, but still, as a seasoned diplomat, as someone who has devoted decades of your time on multilateral platforms, what do you think could be some of the key for success when it comes to this SCO summit?
I think that good world governance, economy, and counter-terrorism, these important international issues will be on the agenda. And I think just now we talked about how people they look at the world situation. So good governance for the globe is very, very important. So that the pillar rule of law is the pillar of globalization, is global governance, good governance. How people think about the governance, how effective that the global governance can be. So this is the question must be answered. There must be solutions. So we got to to bring people together and make sure that we have good understanding what is the rule of law for the international order, and how can we come up with ideas to strengthen the good governance of the world. So this is something I think we expect answers from Qingdao Summit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary General, for
you.
sharing your time out of your very busy schedule here in St. Petersburg. All the best.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
And you have been watching my interview with Mr. Li Baodong, the Secretary General of the World Forum for Asia. This is our special program coming from St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. I'm Tian Wei. We'll be back after this.
Russia's answer to bridge the gap in a highly connected but fractured world. Connectivity through barriers in geography and policy. From St. Petersburg, World Insight with Tianwei ponders the answers. Balanced views, straightforward interviews, go beyond the headlines.
Rome is not built in one day, particularly when it comes to connectivity of the world today. Every beautiful plan needs a lot of time and energy to implement. And that is also very true with the recent development of connectivity here in the region, on transportation, for example, and on infrastructure. On that point, I asked the two experts, and they are going to provide with us some of the key answers. Alexei Dirt, welcome to CGTN. Good to see you guys here in St. Petersburg. I want to talk about transportation. Actually, one of the most important things is how to make sure the transportation will be efficient, while at the same time really going to provide the kind of support that we needed about connectivity. Alexei, I know you've been working on the traditional so-called transportation a lot. Tell me more about that latest development.
Yes, I'm representing here the joint venture, the transport joint venture between three railway companies from Russia, Kazakhstan and Belarus. We're trying to convince the customers in China and Europe that there is another fast, reliable and safe way between China and Europe through the infrastructure of Eurasian Economical Union. Of course, we understand that railway connection during the next 10 or let's say decades will be complementary to the deep sea shipping routes, because the total amount of containers, for example, shipped between Southeast Asia and China and Europe, exceeding 23 million containers. And our current target is to have 1 million containers. Very interesting but hard task to have these million containers, because it means the container train every half an hour. So we have done during the last 2 years, we have increased the number of containers in our services by 10 times. And we are very happy that this railway service is having a very, very good results in terms of new clients, new type of cargos. And so we have, you know, in China you have the Chinese leader initiative, One Belt, One Road. In UTLC, we call this initiative our domestic initiative, One Belt, One Road, 1 million. So our target is to have 1 million, and as soon as we have it, we have another target, maybe 2 million of containers.
This guy already has very concrete target, Third, I have to say. Alexei, you got a lot of work to do, but at the same time, concrete target. For you, Hyperloop, that's an idea, still needs to be translated into reality. You see the traditional so-called railway is really updating themselves. So will you still become attractive?
Well, first of all, we're actually now moving over into the implementation phase. So we just started our R&D center in Toulouse. We announced the first commercial line in the Emirates and Abu Dhabi. So everything is moving actually quite fast. We are a little bit different, right? So we're not an operator, we're a technology company.
That's right.
So we're developing technology that solves problems that they might have, so ideally we are a supplier for them. I would say that rail hasn't really evolved. If you look at the way that it's built, and it's still very similar to how it was conceived, right? It's not much difference. In fact, in most countries of the world, the distance between the tracks is basically based on the butt of two horses on the Roman carriage. Russia is a little bit different there. Spain is a little bit different, and of course the high-speed rail was seen as one of the big solutions. But the real problem in rail and even metro lines is that they don't make economic sense.
But the thing is whether you are going to make economic sense. I mean, idea is wonderful to be presented, but when it comes to real practice, that's another issue.
Well, we're a little bit past that stage. So we have been working with several governments around the world. We have done several feasibility studies. Yeah. We are building, so we know the cost quite well. Yeah. And all of the feasibility studies that we have done with the different Department of Transportations around the world show an ROI around from 8 to 12 years, which is something never seen in the railway industry.
I'm going to talk to you about the feasibilities a bit later, but Alexei, Dirk is trying to challenge you. Did you hear from his message?
It's actually not a challenge. I think we are solving problems together.
All right.
Yeah, I would say that rail is much more conservative than the Hyperloop project, and this is true. You know, railway industry is not a very good field of the drastic innovations. Yeah, because you have to move not only cargo and containers. You move a lot of passengers. And you have to have a lot of security and safety. Yes, we can really have a breakthrough in technologies on the
like what?
Like speed of transportation, like number of wagons in the train.
What is the speed of transportation right now? How about the wagons in the train? What updates needs to be done?
Yeah, well, at the moment, currently, we have the speed of 1,000 kilometers a day. Which means that our container trains are passing our Eurasian railway infrastructure with the speed of passenger train, let's say, regular passenger train. Of course, we cannot develop the speed 1,000 kilometers a day to 1,000 kilometers an hour, like Hyperloop is planning. Yeah, but you know, for customers, it is more important to have the transportation just in time than to have it, for example, 2 days ahead of the schedule. Yeah. Because when you are involved in the international transportation, you have to connect a lot of railway systems, different railway systems on the way. You have to accept the Chinese wagons, you have to reload containers very fast, then you have to pass the Eurasian Union Transportation Network. Then
this is exactly what I want to ask you about, because your competition is not really with dirt. Your competition is with some of the different ideas going on at the same time. For example, the Chinese company building infrastructure, the Chinese company that are offering railway services, and other countries along the Belt and Road, along the Eurasian Economic Union that are doing the same. I think that's where your competitors are. How are you going to do with that competition? But cooperation at the same time, that's the question, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the main factor of the success of the Eurasian Railway Transit is the level of integration and the level of partnership. Because you cannot be efficient by yourself. We are all in one boat, and we have to improve our efficiency by all of us.
But what about that integration, the key word you just used? Yeah. I mean, how is it doing now? What do you think about the level? From 1 to 10, where is it?
Our company is always trying to be more effective, and we're trying to develop the speed, the number of terminals at the border. We're improving the quality of wagons, and we see that more and more clients appreciate our efforts. So I cannot tell you where. I think we're somewhere in the middle between 1 and 10, but this is our common target to, let's say, to move more to the 10.
Yes. Alexei mentioned an important word, integration. Integration, Dirk, I have to say, also important for a new technology company like yours. You have to integrate with the existing transportation system.
It's actually one of the most important parts, right? So if you're building something that brings you from, let's say, Los Angeles to San Francisco in 36 minutes, but it still takes you an hour and a half to get to the station, you're not really changing the way we live.
Yes.
It's actually not fair to compare, because we have an advantage, right? We have the possibility, we have a blank sheet of paper, right? So they have to work in today's world. They need to serve the customers. They need to. We can literally reinvent everything, and that's a big advantage for us. And you know, again, we're a technology company, so we're developing hopefully the technology that's later being used by them to move the containers on the Silk Road, right, on the One Road, One Belt project, and move them rather than by ship, which is not that great for the environment, by Hyperloop within hours from Asia to Europe or to Russia.
But the cost could also be high.
No, the cost actually, it's much cheaper. So the system has very low operational cost because you're working inside a low pressure environment. When he was talking earlier about speed, in a normal train, the speed, the high-speed train in China, the energy consumption is exponential to the speed, meaning that it's not just double the energy needed for double the speed. No, it's exponential, much more. So we are the only real solution that can work while still making economical sense.
I certainly hear that proud statement, but on the other hand, you heard a lot of ideas going on in other parts of the world as well. The question is the time of implementation.
So
the question is the scale. The question is integration worldwide, regional-wide.
Most of those questions have been already answered. We have been working, for example, with our partner Munich Re, which is the largest reinsurance company in the world. They have released a risk report last year already saying that they're going to be able to insure our system. We're now working on the policies. We're working together with TÜV Süd in Germany on creating the safety guidelines. We're working with governments to create the necessary regulations. And to be just clear, I mean, this is not a technology that's going to be there tomorrow, right? We're going to be building it, and then you need to run. You need a certain amount of runs to really regulate the system. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but it's faster than you would think, and it's already there.
Transportation is one of those very important factors of economic development. But when you look at this part of the world, we talk about integration, different ideas, Belt and Road, Eurasian. But on the other hand, you do have very different development stages. The cost, economic viability, and some of the other issues. So let's just say from China to Europe in the near future, the low price of the ticket, how low will it be?
If you want to choose rail, I think that will be one of the most competitive way of transportation. It will be somewhere, because nobody needs it to be transported in 2 hours, you know, like I said.
So what exactly is it?
But it's going to be 30% cheaper than it is now, nowadays.
Which is what time, 30% cheaper?
In a year.
In a year's time?
In a year,
You promised me, Alexei.
Yes, I promised.
30% cheaper.
Yes.
Than is already existing the price.
I mean, if you are talking about the UTLC services, yes, we have the plan how to manage this figure. You know, for us, the cost cutting, once again, is one of the most strategical targets. We understand to get more sales, we need to be more competitive. Competitive, even competitive to the Dixie rates. When I was studying in the university, in my transport university, it was a fundamental knowledge that ship is 4 times cheaper than the rail. Now, we're very close to the rates, to the Dixie rate. So, and we're gonna proceed this way.
What about you, Dirk?
Well, I think that transportation...
You promised 30% already. Of course, this is not a competition, but
well, transportation in the future is going to be free. So
as simple as that. How far future are you talking about?
You think about, I mean, it's not only the Hyperloop. Actually, we're working on solutions that allow us to monetize in a different way. So if you think about the time that someone would spend going from China to Europe in his train, for example, there are a lot of possibilities to monetize this time, much more than just buying a ticket. So you can actually optimize that time and create an ecosystem. So, well, you're creating an ecosystem of services, right? Other companies that can come up with solutions, that can come up with services that you might use, that might, you know, that really, and that's something that we already are implementing. We're working with different train operators. We're in discussions with car manufacturers. So I would say that, you know, because now the next question is going to be when. Right. I would say that when we talk about a time frame, it's somewhere from probably 2 to 3 years that you will see the first steps of a system going in different countries.
Wow, I got already
two
2 timelines. 1 year, 30% off the ticket price, and 2 to 3 years, already the first stage.
But the reason is just because the way that we work is we're changing the business model,
yes.
right?
We'll see how the change will be. Before we go, since we're at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, people would ask a lot about the future of this region, whether it is the greater Eurasian region or Asia, linking Asia to Europe. What do you make of the potential of this region from your perspective, Dirk?
Well, I've been coming to Russia for the last 20 years. So I've seen the development from then to now, which is amazing. There's a huge potential still here to make things better, bigger. There are amazing companies, amazing skill sets in the country. And especially when we're talking about the One Road, One Belt project, right? So if Russia is capable of making sure to be an integral part of it and not just something where, you know, it goes through, then I see a great future for Russia.
All right. What about for you, Alexei?
Well, from my point of view, Eurasia itself is one of the best things in this world. We're so different.
You could see this guy is operating his real system in the region.
Well, because there are many things which are connecting us. I would say that railways and football, maybe, you know, they're connecting us most of all. And both things are happening now in Russia. So, you know.
Yes, yes, of course.
I'm German, so.
Yeah. Well, I have a ticket, by the way, for Germany against Mexico, one of the first matches.
Okay, but a beer later. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that Eurasia is such a great thing in this world.
Yeah.
You know, we're so different, you know, and it's a pleasure for me to come, for example, to China, to different parts of China, to see new traditions, to have new friends, new companies, and so on. When you come to France or to Germany or to Portugal, you see other side of this Eurasia. And it's so interesting, you know, to be involved in this integration process in Eurasia.
Absolutely, this is the most exciting time. Thank you so much, Alexei and Dirk, to be with us here on CGTN. All the best, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm here later. Join you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is my interview with a panel of 2 experts on the issue of connectivity. As you can see, the name of China has been repeatedly mentioned in the discussion. In fact, in any discussion here in Russia when it comes to the future plans. And with that, we're coming to the end of this special episode of World Insight with Tian Wei from St. Petersburg in Russia. Tomorrow, we're going to continue our coverage of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum from the conference site. On behalf of my team here in Russia and in Beijing, bye for now.